Hi, this is Steve. How you doing? My name is Steve Kidd. I'm an international best-selling author. I'm actually working on book 20 right now, and I help people write, publish, market their books to bestseller and beyond. But beyond that, I'm a third-generation minister. I've had a radio show syndicated now for about 7.5 years, and I'm here to help you see more clearly the you that is you than you've ever seen in this world. Part of that's messaging, and a lot of it is just simply belief in yourself. There's a phrase in a song, and it's a worship song. And I warned you in the description, I'm going to do some ranting and some preaching. So, for those of you that are listening live, yeah, it's 11:15 p.m. on the West Coast. That's going to make it about 2:15 on the East Coast of the United States. It's about 8:15 in the morning in England, and sometime in the middle of the day over there in Australia, and all over the world. And we're going to go deep for however long I talk here to you. It may be 5 minutes. It may be an hour and a half. I don't even know. Got no notes, nothing planned. Got my hands just set down here right in front of my microphone. You can see it right there. Hope you can hear me well. I'm excited to be here with you, and I am looking forward to us really embracing the concept of never failing and not having our failure starting now. Now, there is an important part of that. And I need you to know, I need you to embrace this deeply, because without it, you're never going to really do, or be what we're going to talk about today. Okay, and so first of all, the lyric in the song is, because we're singing to Jesus, all right? He's never failed, and he won't start now. Think about that one. Take it in. Take a deep breath. Oh, I needed that myself. I need to slow down and take a breath too. And then really embrace the concept. What if? Now, let it be real, because he never has failed. There have been times when we've put ourselves through a whole lot of shit, right? Yeah, I'm probably going to curse with my ranting and raving and preaching, okay? So I apologize in advance for any of you that offends. Not here to try to offend you. Sometimes that's just the word that's there. It's important for us to understand fully and clearly he's never failed. We've gone through some things. Those aren't his failures. Most of the times, it's our failures. Or at least half and half, our failures and the people in our lives. And a lot of times those people that are in our lives, was because we weren't listening when we should have, and we let people in our lives that we shouldn't have. And sometimes it's just purely because, no judgment on them. They're doing whatever. It's not about them. It's about the fact that there is not an insurmountable failure, and there is no longer time in our lives to look at the past and be like, oh my gosh, I've just got to be guilty for that thing for the rest of my life. No, it's time to let go of that right now. And then look back on your life and see Jesus. He's never failed, and he won't start now. There's something coming up for you tomorrow even. Maybe even right now. Maybe you're like I am in the middle of the night. It's 11 o'clock at night and you're up. What's keeping you awake? Maybe, like me, maybe you're a night owl and you're like, well, this is pretty normal for me to still be awake this time of night. Maybe not as energized. I'm usually not quite this energized this time of night. I'm usually winding down or headed towards sleeping. But maybe this is when you get your best work done. I don't know. And like you said, if you're in another country, this may be prime time for you to rule the world. So let's dive into all of this mess that we call failure There really isn't. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and there's that age old and unfortunately somewhat all too trite saying of, if you knew that you couldn't fail, it wasn't possible, and anything was possible, what would you do? I was being a little snarky, but I said, well, if I knew I couldn't fail, I'd go down and I'd buy one lottery ticket, with the highest lottery, or maybe I'd even buy one each of all the lotteries that are out there right now. And then when I won all of them, because I can't fail at all, right? If you could do anything and you couldn't fail, all right. Remember that was our premise of this statement. So and then take all that money and put it on a single number on a roulette wheel table. Because I think, and don't quote me, somebody that's really big in roulette can tell me if I'm wrong, but I want to say the odds are something like 64 to 1. The payout is like 64 to 1. So imagine if, the lottery was at $500 million the other day. It's not up there now, but let's just use that number, all of the winnings, and you put $500 million down. Let's use a smaller number. Let's use 100. Let's use $1 million. Okay. Much lower number. You got $1 million. You put it down 64 to 1. That turns into $64 million. Now, what if that was $100 million? That then turns into $6.4 billion. What if that was $1 billion? And it turns it into $64 billion. And what if you did that 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 times until you just, you're talking about times 64 times 64, and I'm not going to do that math for you this late at night or that quickly, but you go very quickly from 1 billion to 1 trillion very, very quickly. Because after all, what would you do if you absolutely could not fail? And then, when you have all the money in the world and you can do anything, would you be like Elon Musk and buy Twitter? Would you buy your own island and just kind of set up your absolute wonderful paradise? Oh, that sounds great, doesn't it? So, as you can say, I'm being a little snarky about the concept of what would you do if you couldn't fail? Because the concept behind that, what we're saying when we as coaches have said that, is, to dream bigger, to reach further, to go more, to go deeper. And you see, we have to first embrace, it's not us that can never fail, it's that God never fails. That in whatever's going on in our life, no matter what that is, God is there for us, and he's always finding a way. We've talked a couple of times on Facebook Lives about the story of Joseph, and about how Joseph, I did one late at night where my dad and I were talking about it, and he's like, yeah, God made a way, but what if that wasn't even his plan? For Joseph to save all of Egypt and Egypt to become the center of the world. You have to go back and listen to the other live stream if you want to understand what I mean by that. God made a way, but he also has a perfect way, and he never fails, and he won't start now. And I know some of you are going through some stuff. Trust me, as I sit here right now, I'm going through some stuff too. Lots of it. I can't sit here and tell you, lie to you and say, oh, today was an amazingly wonderful day. I was actually listening to that song, by the way. It's called Oceans by Hillside United. My favorite version of it is the live version that they do when they're in Caesarea, in this case, in Israel. And the girl that's the lead singer, that was during the time that she actually had shaved her head bald. And there is a power and a spirit behind how she just throws her head back and just goes for it in that particular live version of that song that I just love. And I was actually ready to go to bed, and I was just going to take my grumpy self off to bed because it's been not a great day. And I was like, no, I want to reboot myself before I go to bed. I have a ritual when I go to bed. I'm learning. I'm not going to say I'm even good at it, but I'm learning to let literally everything go, to embrace Jesus, and that I'm fully, completely His and given all to Him, but that everything else in my life is just gone. So that I go to bed a clean, clear, empty vessel, and I can sleep. And then in the morning, I make the choice. What things am I going to invite in that I'm going to have for today? Now, that's what works for me. And I encourage some of you, it might work for you too. Because yesterday's gone. Heck, we started this at quarter after 11. Quarter after 11's gone. It's 11:20 now, 11:23. We can't get that back. I can't go back in time now and say, oh gosh, I wish I hadn't been alive. Guess what? I've done it. It's out there. Okay. I've already gotten one reaction, at least on Facebook, because that's the one I happen to have up over here on the other, on the other screen. I'm talking to you through StreamYard, so you could hear me on Twitter, Facebook, or live on YouTube right now. But we can't go back. And the past is not, and here's where it gets good, people. The past is not a failure. The past is something that's gone. It just simply does not exist anymore. Now, our brains, I've used this example before, our brain is like a sweet puppy that finds a dead animal and brings it and gives it to you, or cats do that too. And they're so happy and they're wagging their tail. Look at what I've got, this dead animal. Oh, it's just wonderful. It's stinky and I just love it, right? And, you take it in all the love that it's meant because they're doing it to show you how much they honor and respect you. That's why they're presenting it to you. And then you bury it. And then they dig it back up and bring it to you again. That's what our brains are. Our brains are that sweet, cute little puppy that goes back into the past, things that are gone, checks that are written and have cleared the bank and are no longer spendable money, time that we will never get back. And our brain goes, hey, look at this. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it great? Look at how bad you screwed up. Oh my gosh, you're such a failure. And then we live in yesterday, in 5 minutes ago, in a decade ago, in all of the failures and all of the crap, all the stuff we've done throughout all the years. And we just sit there and we drag that into today. And then so instead of saying he's never failed and he won't start now, we're looking at our lives and going, oh, look at all the times God's failed me. Look at the opportunity that I had that I didn't get. Look at the marriage that I had that failed. Or in my case, 2 of them. Those of you that know me know I'm divorced twice now. Look at all the things I did with my children that, I thought was right. But, if I could go back and spank me, I would, because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was way too young when I had kids. I mean, I had a 3-year-old at 19 years old. Okay? No 19-year-old should be married, let alone have kids. And I was a very mature, very responsible, ready for the world 19-year-old. But I didn't need any of that. I love you to death, Emily, but, I was a screw up. I admit it. And the same would be true all the way down the line. But I did the best I could then. And now that's gone. It's the past. And it's washed under the blood of Jesus. And I'm forgiven of it. That's what is right here, right now. Is when we confess our sins, he's faithful and he's just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And he takes our sins and he throws them into the sea of his forgetfulness, and it is no more. Like I said, our cute little puppy brain brings it back and goes, look at this. Look at what you did. You were 19 years old and you screwed up as a parent, dude. You should feel really guilty about that. Maybe you should spend some time crying over that right now. Your dad died in February and you really love him and really miss him. Maybe you could spend a couple hours crying over that. And I'm not saying that when things come up, I'm in no way telling you, don't cry. I mean, I was just crying 20 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, give or take 2 minutes. It's part of why I knew I needed to come on here and just talk to you guys. Tears streaming down my face. I was like, I splashed some water in my face and I put it on a shirt that didn't look like the old nasty t-shirt I was wearing. But I needed you to hear and know, whether you're up late at night or it's the first thing in the morning for you or the middle of the day, or, you're listening to this on the replay and it's 25 years from now. I don't know how long it'll last, but whatever. I want you to know there is no failure. It's not about what would you do if you could never fail. What will you do over the fact that there is no failures? There were some lessons that you learned, and now you're the person that you are now. And I can hear your voice saying, but Steve, you don't know what I did. You'd feel guilty too if you did the things that I did. You're probably right. I feel a lot of guilt over a lot of the things that I did. And you'd probably feel guilty too if you felt them too. That doesn't make them real. That doesn't mean I should give them power over my life. Because that's yesterday. That's the past. That's gone. I can't do anything about that. I can ask for forgiveness. And for anybody and to anything that I haven't asked for forgiveness for, I apologize and I'm very sorry. I want my soul to be clean of all those things. Do you hear the helicopter from Camp Pendleton flying overhead? Wonder what the Marines or the Navy guys are up to tonight. World's moving. The present is right here, powerfully showing up. And the failures from a minute ago, from yesterday, from 5 years ago, from 10 years ago, they're gone. They're past. They do not exist. They are not reality because they're not now. My good friend Henry Villanueva, who we lost a little while ago now, he used to always say, yesterday's a canceled check. Tomorrow's a promissory note. Today is the only legal tender you can spend. And it's about being the best you can be today. Say it out loud. Say it like I just did. I'm so sorry. I blew it. I love you. Forgive me. Let your heart be clear. If it is night where you are, let it all go and go through the night clean and clear. And then tomorrow choose all the powerful, strong things that you're going to bring forward with you, rather than all of the ick and yuck and ugh of the past that we drag around with us until the suitcase, the backpack, the luggage, the clothing, the muck and mire that we're mucking through is all just so much that we just crumple under the weight of it. Like Atlas with literally the whole world on our shoulders. When what we really need to do is just let it all go. Because God's got you. And he's never failed. And he won't start now. And your life is so good. It's going to be so amazing in the future. But it's going to be great today. Why? Because there's going to be no challenges. Because you won't have any of the things, from the most simple of things to stubbing, things like stubbing your toes, crying, all of the stuff, brushing our teeth, just the normal things of life. Those will happen in our present, in our right now. We may even say something really stupid and have to say, oh, wow, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it to be that way. I did that earlier today via text, and I was like, oh, that wasn't what I meant at all. But I'm so very sorry if I came across that way, because that's not where my heart is. And the people that know you will be like, hey. And The people that don't know you, they will begin to start learning this new you that has a soft heart with well-tilled soil that new stuff can be planted in, because the ick and the gunk and the yuck you clear out quickly like weeds, and you throw them away or even burn them in a fire by just simply giving them to God and knowing that He's never failed and He won't start now. That's pretty amazing when you really embrace it. And then it doesn't become a matter of what would you do if you could never fail, but rather what will you do with the fact that everything that you deem to be a failure has made you the amazingly wonderful, perfect you that you are right now. It's not about whether or not you couldn't ever fail. It's about the fact that you are fully empowered to be the best version of yourself today, right now. Before you go to sleep, if you're like me and you're up for a few more minutes before you go to bed, or first thing when you wake up, or in the middle of your day, if it's the middle of your day right now, whatever that might be, we can be better in an instant if we decide. It's a choice. Being better isn't about radical transformation necessarily. The radical transformation is when we look at what is, accept it as the fact that it is and was, and then move forward powerfully from right where we are. When we fall in the mud, we also have the ability to get up, change our clothes, take a shower, and be clean again. Sure, we could move through the rest of our lives with that mud all over us. When we're walking through the yard and we step in dog stuff, I didn't curse that time. Aren't you proud of me? We could just leave it on our shoes forever and track it through the house and have it in the car and, just have it everywhere we go. Or we could scrape it off our shoes and move on. Doesn't mean that we didn't step in it. It means that we can move on. And that it doesn't have to just stay there and be there. That's powerful. That's so much more powerful than what would you do if you never could fail? But rather, what are you going to do? Because you have a God in your life. And He's never failed and He won't start now. And in all of the things in your life, He is making a way. The Bible says there's no temptation that's except that which is common to man, that God has provided already a means of escape. That doesn't only mean that we don't have to yield to that temptation. It also means that when we do, because we're humans and we blow it, that the circumstances and the consequences of doing something stupid, God's already got a whole plan in place of how to get us back on track, or get us even sometimes to a better that we can't even contemplate. Not because His perfect plan was for you to step in it, but because when you do, He takes the now with another experience you and uses that to make you an even more powerful version of yourself than you would have been. Going back to the story of Joseph. Joseph had everything he needed. He was born with the vision to be able to see, to dream dreams and to interpret them and understand what they meant and to listen and hear God's voice. And he knew from a very young age that he was going to be the ruler over all. But he also had, like many of us do when we're young men, he had a really huge ego and he didn't know what to do with it. And so he bragged about it a lot. And though I still agree with what my dad said, and you got to listen to that other video if you want to know all of it, that wasn't God's perfect plan to send Joseph to Egypt and have him, be thrown in jail and spend all those years in jail and blah, 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 and have all that ick and yuck and be a slave. But God used all of it. And now the humble, forgiving, Joseph, when his brothers were in front of him begging for their lives, had nothing but forgiveness and love and grace and mercy, even for the brothers that had sold him into slavery. We all go through yuck and ick. But when we can embrace that our God has never failed and he won't start now, and that there is always a way, and that no matter how impossible it feels, and believe me, I've told you a couple of times, it's been a rough couple of days, rough couple of months, really. My dad just passed away on February 13th, and I miss him every minute of every day. And I rejoice every minute of every day because he's in heaven with Jesus. I don't have any sorrow for him. Sad for me, because I go to my phone and I pick it up, and then I remember that I can't call him and share the thing with him that I wanted to talk to him about, or get his opinion on something that I read or heard, or just, talk and solve the problems of the world with him, because we used to do that. There's a lot of stuff going on in my life, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on in your life. I get it. I understand. I may not have been through exactly the same thing, but I can empathize. I can feel the stuff. And rather than me taking on the weight of all your stuff too, which unfortunately as an empath I have a tendency to do and a capability to do, rather I, on your behalf, commit those to the Lord too. And together, let's release all of the stuff. Let it go. Go into the night completely empty, clean, holy, pure, a child of God. Nothing but pure light and love. And then in the morning when we wake, for those of you, again, that it's night, in the morning, we'll wake up and we'll choose. We'll start off with, this is the day that the Lord hath made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. And then we'll add on to the things, just the things that as the traveler through today, we need for today and we can carry today. How much lighter is your suitcase when all you got to do is grab your keys so that and maybe your wallet or your purse if you have a purse? Because all you got to do is get through today. You don't have to pack a change of clothes if you're just going to, into town to go shopping or whatever. You don't pack a bag just in case. It's like, well, just in case in the middle of the afternoon after shopping for groceries, I decide to move to a whole nother world. I better make sure I pack up my whole house before I go to the grocery store. And yet that's kind of how we approach each day, isn't it? We pack up every one of the pieces of crap in our life and we put them all in the suitcase and we carry them around with us all day. Release those. Let it go. Travel light. And just simply pick up your keys and your wallet or your purse and step out into the world to be who you're supposed to be while it's called today. For those of you that it's already, daytime where you are, do that now. Let go of that great big giant bag that you're carrying around. I think of the pictorial from Pilgrim's Progress. I think it's actually from the children's version called Little Pilgrim's Progress, but of Christian as he heads up the hill to give his life to Jesus, and the burden that he's been carrying on his back falls away and rolls down the hill behind him. That's what all that stuff that's any time from before a second, before right now, a second ago is already gone. By the time I say it's now, it's not now anymore. Because at the beginning of the N, that N is gone by the time I get to the W in the word now. And it's a little word. That's how time flows by. And we just pick up our keys and our wallet and we head out. And we be the best us that we can be today. And we know that he's never failed and he won't start now. And instead of having all the burden of what are you going to do when you can't fail, you can simply just say, what do I need to do right now? What's the thing placed in my hands in this moment that I can show up powerfully and do and be, and know that God's going to take it in his unfailing way. He's going to bless me. And I too can say today that he's never failed and he won't start now. Thanks for spending time with me. I didn't know where this was going. I just literally heard the voice in my head, God, saying, you should go on and do a Facebook Live. Share your tears and your joys from the song that we just listened to together. Share it with the people. Put it out there in the world. Basically forever, because it's out there not only live, but now on the replay. And people can pop in and they can be blessed. And you can know that your soul is light, that you're freed of all that stuff, that you are strong and powerful, and that there are things that you need to do today. Go and win the world. Go and be the amazing, incredible you, because you are uniquely brilliant. You were created for a purpose, and the world does need you. Be safe. Be happy. Be light and be free. And embrace God and the fact that he never fails and he won't start now. Thanks so much for spending some time with me here today. I hope until we're together again, you embrace that love in your life and you live in a place of the success that's yours rather than the failure that all of us want to try to pour on ourselves. And you can live in pure love and pure light and truly free.